Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and today I am at REDEYE Midtown. And if any of you follow me on social media, this is one of my favorite spots in Tallahassee. I am sitting here with the managing partner and one of my LT buds, Miss Barby Moro. Welcome, Barby.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for allowing me to sit in the house today.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
Thanks for having me here. I'm with a celebrity.
Listen to you. You are the celebrity. So tell the people who may not know who you are, who is Barby? And not what you do.
Not what I do.
But who is Barby Moro?
Yeah, Moro.
Moro.
Yeah. So, you know, being completely honest, it just depends on the day, right? So first and foremost, I'm the daughter of immigrants, and that's like incredibly important to me and my story and my journey. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, right? I'm a servant leader. I'm also really, really just complicated and messy and flawed, but funny.
And a heart of gold.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I try really hard.
Yes. So tell me about your Tallahassee journey. Like, what brought you here and what kind of keeps you here?
Yeah, so it's a series of just crazy events. First and foremost is on my 18th birthday, I signed up to join the Florida Army National Guard. So it really meant a lot to me to be first generation Cuban American and be a part of this amazing country that granted my parents the freedoms that they were denied in their own, right, their own home country. So I wanted to be able to serve and give back in that sense. And then I also applied and received a community service scholarship through Service Scholars to FSU. So those two things jointly combined is what brought me to Tallahassee. And then what got me staying in Tallahassee is I was actually medically discharged from the military early on, and I was going to drop out and move back to Miami, where I'm from. And I had a mentor at the time at FSU through Service Scholars. Her name's Gina. And Gina said, well, no, like don't drop out. Like let's think about like what do you love to do? Like what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I was like, I thought I was going to be in the military for the rest of my life. And she's like, well, you know, what else? And I was like, well, I love to serve. I love community service. But I was like, you can't major in that. There's no majoring in community service. And she said, well, what aspect of community service do you love? And from as long as I can remember, working with people with disabilities has always been just near and dear to my heart. And I said, you know, working with people with disabilities. And she's like, you can major in that. And she connected me with an advisor in the special education program at the FSU College of Education. And then I couldn't decide like which specialty I wanted, so I stayed an additional year and got all the specialties.
Okay.
And stayed and got a master's in emotional disturbances and learning disabilities. And I went and I created all these different educational programs and I taught and I did just some really awesome stuff that I wouldn't if I hadn't had a mentor to see something in me that I couldn't see beyond, right? Wow. So I always like to, I love that story and I love sharing that story because I think it just speaks to how important it is to pay it forward and invest in others and pour into others every step of the way, wherever your journey is.
Absolutely.
Because you never know the ripple effects, right? So my story is one of gratitude. So that's how I try to live my life now, where I'm just paying it forward and I'm serving out my gratitude.
Beautiful, beautiful. So talk to me about how you came to come to REDEYE.
Yeah, that's also a super crazy story. It's just random. You know, people talk about success and whatever their definition of success is, and they see it as like this line, right? And really it's like, it's squiggles and dips and turns and like backward flips and, and all this stuff. And then somewhere eventually you'll end up wherever you are. So for REDEYE, at the time, so after teaching for a few years, a local mentor in town, actually Kelly Audi, she recruited me, and we helped start, and I helped start the Oasis Center for Women and Girls.
Okay.
And I created their Girls Can Do Anything program. And I did that for a few years, and I mean, I absolutely love it. It's still going strong today. It's got my heart. And then from there, I was recruited to join Southern Scholarship Foundation, which is a local nonprofit that works with TCC, FAMU, and FSU students to provide rent-free scholarship housing. And so for me, that opportunity was also like a full circle opportunity because I was a scholarship kid as well. I lived in these houses.
Gotcha.
So I did that for almost 8 years. And then from there, talking about LT, right? And so Leadership Tallahassee and Connections, I had an LT classmate that introduced me to Mark McNeese, the owner and founder at the time of REDEYE Coffee.
Okay.
And one thing led to another, and the opportunity to become its first COO happened. And I found myself as an employee of REDEYE Coffee, which, you know, to take me away from the nonprofit sector and to take me away from education, the business needed to be right, right? But there was something that I always found incredibly intriguing about REDEYE and its commitment to the community. It's being a social impact company, committed to giving back, and just kind of doing business in a different way than the way that business has always been done, kind of thing. And I was really attracted to that. And I was attracted to the idea of what I could do with that, right? And like how I could maybe shake some things up and just have people thinking and talking about things a little bit differently. So that was a really, really just fun opportunity. It's gonna be 3 years in October.
Wow.
So almost 3 years ago that happened. And then, but within that window, right? So started as COO, worked. Then got the opportunity to become the managing partner, or got the opportunity to become the CEO. And then from there, managing partner. I became managing partner right before COVID hit, so January of 2019. And then that's really when I became a real owner of REDEYE.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then, you know, lucky me. It was coffee shop owner, pandemic, woo!
So the rest is REDEYE history, right?
Yeah, it's REDEYE,
Right. So what to you makes REDEYE so special? I mean, you mentioned social impact, but talk a little bit about, you know, what that looks like.
Yeah, so I really believe community starts at REDEYE. Like I really believe from the people we hire, from the vendors we partner with, from the space that we create, and the relationships and conversations that we encourage and foster, I do believe that we're just unique in that sense. Something that I've always really appreciated is our ability to focus on the idea of people before profits. And just from, again, the farmers that we work with their coffee, and our baristas and our staff that we hire, and our customer base, and people like you that come, you know, like there's just so much beauty and kindness and love and compassion that comes with a cup of coffee. And I think it's all about perception. And so REDEYE's commitment to giving back to, what I always like to say whenever anyone has an ask for us is that if it aligns with our values, if there's a way for us to give back and help, we will. If there isn't, I'll be honest with you and I'll let you know, but if I can help, I will. And so I think that just having that kind of honesty from the beginning with any kind of engagement and interaction, and really learning about what the cause is on the other side, I think is what has helped us build a really solid reputation within the community that the REDEYE loves Tallahassee, REDEYE's here for Tallahassee, and that without Tallahassee, there would be no REDEYE. So
I love that. I love that. I truly believe that too. Absolutely. Now, you talked about the pandemic. 2020 brought,
everything.
a lot, all the things,
All the
right?
things.
All the things, from social unrest to a contentious election to shutdowns, some permanent, some temporary. Tell me about REDEYE's pivot during that time.
So we pivoted like 16 times. And I guess I can maybe go in some type of chronological order. So the first thing is when the pandemic hit really, really hard and people were scared to come inside. This is before the shutdowns and people were scared to come inside. I created a makeshift drive-through, and for $6 you could get muffin and a coffee. And I mean, it was me. It was me sitting out there pouring this coffee with the muffins and like my little phone. I'm like, hey, here you go, you know, just to keep it going. And then when we had to shut down for a couple of weeks, I was really worried for our employees. You know, and just that's, I mean, you know, when you're working, like you count on your money to just pay your bills. And so I'm incredibly grateful. I was able to call in just about any and every favor that I could, and got all kinds of donated items from other small businesses and other vendors that like totally heard me and felt my pain and stuff, and created these gift baskets that then we were able to sell. But I call them tip jar baskets, because then 100% of anything brought in was then given back to all of our team members that were going to be without pay for 2 weeks, right? So that was probably like pivot number one. Is I was just like, I just need my people to be okay for 2 weeks. Just get us through these 2 weeks until we reopen, and then I'll figure it out once we reopen, right? And so then we reopened, and you know, sales were not there, and we were needing to cut hours. We needed to cut, you know, just try to figure it out. And
But some of the things that you did, like you know, kind of polled the customers to see kind of what things they would like to have here. So,
yes,
you know, honey and
yeah.
I think there was toilet paper here at
Yeah,
one time.
there was toilet paper here, and there were baby wipes.
Yes.
And we had yeast, because everybody all of a sudden became a baker, and they needed that yeast to make that bread, right? Yes, I was like, okay, what do you need? Okay, cool. Let me get that. Let me put it through. And then we had a great partnership with Chef Nikki, and she does pro seasoning. And she has her own YouTube channel, Nikki Talks Food. So she was actually temporarily laid off for a bit during the pandemic. And she had this YouTube channel where she taught like cooking lessons. And so she was one of the vendors who, she gave me a whole bunch of jars of pro seasoning to put in the tip jar baskets. So then I was like, hey, I'll never forget it, because I was there to pick up her like donation. And I was saying, oh, thank you so much, da 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 da. And like we were in her driveway, 6 feet apart, and just talking. And I was like, so what are you gonna do during this time? And she was like, well, I'm gonna do my cooking channel. And I was like, do you have access to like getting real food? And she goes, well, no, not because I'm not in my kitchen, you know, with my job. I was like, I have access to real food. What if we partnered up and did meal kits? What if we got all the ingredients, we prepped it, we did everything, and it was kind of like a Hello Fresh, but it was a local spin on Hello Fresh. And then if you bought the meal kit, you picked it up at REDEYE, and it was a Nikki Talks Food and REDEYE collaboration. And then they would, the night that they would cook, they would do like a cooking demonstration with her, but it was online, so it was interactive. And so if they had a question or if they needed her to slow down, she would, and then it was recorded and then given out to everybody.
Yes.
So we did that. We did that for the first time we did it. We were like, oh, I don't know if we'll do this again. We did it for 16 weeks.
Wow.
Like, it got us through.
Yes.
And people loved it. And then they would come and we would do curbside. So if people just didn't even want to get out of their car, we would like put it in their car for them. And you know, that was great. And then
So needless to say, you did a number of things.
There were a variety of different collabs. We had Street Chefs with Chef Rebecca. We're doing the Breakfast Club. That's still happening now, where we deliver breakfast to people on Friday and Saturday mornings.
That's good. That's great.
But it goes back to gratitude, right? Because the only reason why we were able to do that is because there were people on the other end that said, yeah, let's do that together. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's the power of community.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
But when we come back, I want to talk more about REDEYE and a little bit more about Miss Barby Moro. All right.
Okay.
Stay tuned for more conversations.
Conversations with Nicole.
The number 10 means longevity. It means that you've been doing something that you love for a long time and that you're good at it.
What does the number 10 mean to me? 10, decade, new era, new beginning.
One of the first memories I have is learning my times tables. And the easiest times tables of all were the multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It made math easy for an English major like myself.
The number 10 to me means victory. It means community, collaboration. It means wholeness.
The number 10 means to me, if you think of it in terms of 1 out of 10, 10 is top tier. So number 10 means you're the best.
Congratulations to Conversations with Nicole for 10 full seasons. That is amazing.
Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Conversations with Nicole.
Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. If you are just joining me, I am sitting here in REDEYE Coffee in Midtown with the managing partner, Miss Barby Moro. And we have been talking about the pandemic and the shift that REDEYE did. But I also want to talk to you, Barby, about the social unrest, the systemic racism, and the need for diversity, inclusion, and equity. What's REDEYE's role been as it relates to all of that?
Oh gosh, well, so I will say that so last summer it hit really close to home for a lot of different reasons. Everything that we were seeing on the outside for so long that everyone knew existed, it was somewhat kept at an arm's length, right? Because it's like, oh, but that's not Tallahassee, that's not our town. Our town's different, we're different. And I think last summer was a little bit of a wake-up call for some people. Other people knew all along, but for some people, it was a little bit of a wake-up call on what was happening, right? And so when tragedy hit really, really close to home and social unrest was at its highest here locally, one of the really amazing things, going back to community, going back to partnerships, something that we were able to do, that I felt really strongly about just providing the opportunities. People on social media, you know, they were talking about wanting to have these really difficult conversations, but they were trying to have it over social media, right? And so, I mean, you know, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You're not going to reach anyone's hearts. You're not really going to hear another person's story through a screen. And so one of the things that we offered up was our REDEYE spaces as a safe place for community conversations.
Yes.
So we were like, if you wanted to come and you brought somebody who did not look like you, and you wanted to have a really hard conversation in a safe space with that intention, you could come and your drinks and your food was on us. Put it on the tab. Put it on the community conversation tab and stay a while. However long it took you to like look people eye to eye and talk heart to heart, right?
That was one of my favorite programs.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that you all did, and I did get to participate in that at least twice. So
oh, that's amazing.
Kudos to you all for doing
Thank
that.
you. Well, yeah. I'll say thank you so much, but honestly, the first time I was a little worried, and I was like, oh man, this tab. But then community partners started cutting checks to pay for the tap to keep it going. They didn't want to see it shut down. And they're like, yes, please, please. And so really one of the biggest things is you can't be afraid to have really critical conversations if we ever expect to move forward.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Absolutely.
sometimes those conversations really mean just you sitting down and listening. And just listening with an open heart, not with a comeback, not with feedback, not with a suggestion, not with a listening, sitting with it, and then doing the work, because we all have work to do.
We do.
And so that was something that, you know, if I hadn't been a part of this coffee shop, I couldn't have done. So I was really, really happy to be able to serve the community in that way and do this thing that we could do.
Awesome, awesome. Now we're going to shift gears just a little bit.
Yeah.
We are in the midst of Women's History Month, and
Yes.
you were named as one of TCC Foundation's 2021 Women History honorees. So congratulations on
Thank you.
that.
Thank you very much.
So I'm curious as to what women have influenced you, or do you admire, that kind of help motivate you to do what you do?
Yeah, so there's so many ways to answer that, right? So there's like national women, historical women, you know, local women, I admire you. I think that when I think about your question of like what motivates me, the thing that I'm grateful to have been raised and have been mentored by strong women my entire life. Women have poured into me every single step of the way. When we talk about all the community pivots and all the things that we did during the pandemic, women. That was me partnering with women. And so when I think about who I admire and who gives me the fuel, it's really everyday women. There are instances every single day that I witness a woman who could either feed a negative situation, fight a negative situation, and seeing their choices and seeing how they move forward, that really speaks to me. Because at the end of the day, like, women just make everything better, you know? They show up, they show out, they make it happen.
Yes.
And so I think that there's opportunities for inspiration and admiration from women from all walks of life, even the ones I don't agree with, even the ones like I couldn't disagree with more. They're still out there doing it and getting it done, right? And so there's a lot to admire about the power of women.
Yes.
And I just like to sit with that sometimes, you know? I'm happy to name drop, you know?
That's fine.
You know,
You don't have to.
I think that it's all about the unsung sheroes. It's about the people who show up to work. It's about the people who show up for others, who pick up that call, who do that random act of kindness just out of the goodness of their heart, even though they might be going through a really crazy personal struggle, right?
Right.
But women have an ability to do that with grit and grace in such a way that it just moves me.
Okay. So do you think that your leadership style is influenced by being a woman and as well as a Hispanic woman?
Absolutely. 100%, without a doubt, unapologetically, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how so?
So first off, just in terms of being a woman, and again, having had amazing mentors model to me what an empathetic, strong, you know, assertive woman looks like and can be, who helps empower and uplift others, I've really been able to tie into that. And so I do believe that I lead with a servant's heart. I do believe that I try really, really hard to come from a place of empathy and compassion and just assuming the good in the other person, and then from there figuring out how we can move forward. And then just, you know, being Hispanic means that I'm also you know, a lot.
Flavorful, spicy.
I'm all the stereotypes and then some, right? And so I'm loud, I'm sassy, I'm this, I can be quick-tempered, I can, you know, I'm funny, I'm a hell of a dancer, right? Like all the things, right? All the things are true.
But can you cook though?
Oh, but I can.
Okay.
Oh, I can. And so I think that adds, right? It all goes back to every person's journey. They have something that they can add and they can pour into the space around them. It's just whether or not the space is willing to accept it and welcome it.
Love it.
You know?
Love it. Love it.
So,
okay, cool. Now, what advice would you give to next generation female leaders?
Believe yourself. Not believe in yourself.
Believe yourself.
Believe yourself.
Okay.
So being Hispanic, and I use this word, you know, your inner bruja. So it means witch, which then people go, oh, no, I don't mean it in like a bad way. It's really like your intuition, your instinct, right? And so we all have, especially women, have this intuition and this instinct on feeling a vibe and like, ooh, something's not right, and you know, and there's just something there. But for a lot of different reasons within society, we have been, from the moment we're born, told to like check ourselves and to doubt ourselves and to not believe that voice, right? To seek the answer from somewhere else and from elsewhere. And so it's taken me many, 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 many years to believe myself. And I think that there's some pain and there's some lessons that could have been avoided if I had just believed myself from the beginning and listened to my inner bruja. Because the thing about intuition is that if you ignore it long enough and you live in a space of denial long enough, it'll stop talking to you. You'll quiet it down. Because it goes back to like, you know, whatever you feed is what will thrive inside of you. So feed yourself with truth, honesty, and power, and let that thrive within you.
Ooh, I love it. Yes. Okay. And then my final question is,
Yes.
what is your greater work? Which I think in Barby Moro's terms would be, what is your superpower?
Superpower. I love people. I just, you know, so for me, I think it just comes back to kindness. I really, really, really love pouring into others from a place of kindness and love and empathy, and from there building a relationship that will strengthen our community. So if I had to pick a superpower of what's just one thing that like all day long I'm here for, it's kindness.
And you do it very well.
Thank you, friend.
Yes. Thank you for your time today and for all that you are doing for the Tallahassee community. We are very blessed to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. And thank you all for joining us on Conversations with Nicole, where we are connecting the community through conversations. We'll see you next time.